Hello and welcome to EMP Power Sports and Marine in beautiful St. Mary's, Idaho. Today we're looking over my 1985 Cagiva Alazzurra 650, a Ducati by a different name. The chassis, the suspension, wheels, motor are all Pantah 650, very similar to a Pantah 600. I believe the chassis and suspension is Pantah 600 and 500 as well. I've been wanting to do a Pantah road race bike for ARMA. This will be a next-gen lightweight legal bike. I want to thank my friend Kevin once again for gifting us this wonderful motorcycle. I'm really looking forward to this project. This is going to be part one of bringing this bike back to life. It's a tired old road bike that a friend of ours commuted on for many years. It has actually been pretty well taken care of. The motor's pretty fresh. We have to seal it up, but it's a low miles hot rod motor. Already has the 2-in-1 exhaust. This is a really great platform for a road racing project. So hopefully you'll stay tuned with us. We're going to start going through it. I've already put some Marvel Mist Oil down the spark plug tubes just because this bike has sat for 4 years as my friend moved overseas. He was back visiting when he gave it to us. I'm going to pull the carburetors off today, get them in the ultrasonic cleaner. We're going to rebuild the carburetors. We're going to rotate the motor over. It is a Ducati, so it does have belts. We're going to rotate the motor over and line up the timing marks. I'm going to replace the timing belts, check the valve clearances on this bike. We're going to fix any leaks that it might have. I'm going to probably paint the wheels gold, replace the tank and body work with Pantah road race body work. So this one, it'll probably be a year or two in the progress to get this one where I want it. But it's going to be a nice bike that everybody's going to lust over when it's done. So we hope you stay tuned and let's get to work. There we go. That's old. Jump out of the lift. Siphoning out this old gas. It is definitely varnished. That's on there. Got released anyway. Just grab these two cables. Got them. Sending unit. Stay. Check and see if the petcocks work. Doubt it. Oh, maybe. Alright, we have the old stale gas drained. Now we're going to pull the belt cover so we can rotate the motor over. So these are the famous Ducati timing belts. Usually like to use a T-handle on these, especially when you're tightening these. A little bit of never sees and a T-handle. For 10 Newton meters, people always over torque these. Pay attention where your hardware goes. Make templates for the side covers, but on the belts, it's not. You don't need templates. Oh. Should be loose. There we go. There's one. Loose. Sure, many of you already know out there, 2-valve Ducatis from this era, the 80s and 90s, are probably my favorite motorcycles in the world. My first shop, this is all we worked on, were these old Ducks, and to this day, I've owned many. I currently own two 2-valves and a 4-valve. These 80s and 90s Ducatis are probably my favorite motorcycles. They are my favorite motorcycles. I've owned many. Somebody was racing this one. I think Kevin did any track time. That looks like that was safety wired. One there. Oh, it's in there. This is why I use never sees. Otherwise they get seized in here. So anytime you're doing anything with these bikes, never sees everywhere. Fuck. Cross our fingers this comes out. There it goes. This one's a little shorter. Here are the famous Ducati timing belts. So what we're going to do now is line up the timing marks. We have a timing mark right here and right here on the pulley. So pulley on the motor itself. We have one right here, pulley on the motor itself. And the third one is pulley. This is for the crank. And the motor itself is this little notch right there in the case. So we're going to line these marks up. All right, to turn the motor over, we have to do a couple things. First, we have to remove the spark plugs. Should be loose. They are. I think I already mentioned I put a bunch of Marvel Mist Oil in this motor and let it sit for a couple weeks, knowing it hasn't ran in years. If we have a stuck ring or a bad seal or anything, it'll won't cause havoc. It'll come right back to life. Plugs were fouled when I initially pulled them, but that's all old Marvel Mist Oil. Stick these over here. Bigger wrench, screwdriver. You gotta be very careful with these not to strip them, especially to the other style with hex. Those are in there. I'm gonna use an impact driver on these very carefully. Once again, never ceases your friend. Those are in there. engine turning tool. The Ducatis, I have two different engine turning tools. I believe this is a factory Ducati tool. And this is one I bought from Desmo Times years ago when I was a young mechanic. It broke. I broke the handle on the first use. Always remove the spark plugs to alleviate engine compression. I did that, but it still broke. Our old helper, Crazy John, long live him. Crazy John, aka Pazzo John, aka Dr. Seuss. Went to use the tool after he fixed the handle and broke one of the little pegs off. So he did this crazy contraption. I've used it for years. It works great. But I have two of them right here. Two of them right here. That's the marble mist oil I put in there. Let me get a little drain pan. This is going to spit. Ready? I'll turn the motor over a couple times just to get all the marble mist oil out, both cylinders, and just align them. All right, let me know when I get close to the timing marks.
Okay, almost. A little more. Stop.
There? On or over?
You're on.
All right, so we've rotated our motor over several times. The marble mist oil has now coated our cylinders, gotten into the cylinder head, so if there's a valve seal or anything that's dried up, it should swell it. Some of the overflow went in the rear carb, so I'm going to clean the carbs anyways. We've lined up our timing marks, as you can see. 1, cam, 2, cam, and then the third one is for the crank. So our timing marks are lined up properly. Our horizontal cylinder is at top dead center, which is correct for Ducati. So I don't have new timing belts in stock right now, but when as soon as I get them in, I will be able to replace these old timing belts with some fresh ones. And when I'm in there, I'll set the valves. I will record that so you guys can see what's going on and how to do it. These two valves are very, very easy to do. All you need is some basic tools, an engine turning tool, which I've showed. You'll need a set of Allen keys. It's, I believe, at least on the 900 SSs, it is 5 millimeters Allen key sticking between the pulley and the tensioner to adjust, between the belt and the tensioner to adjust the belt tension. It's 6 millimeters on the vertical as there's more heat. The valves, I think they're 0.1 to 0.3 millimeters. I'm gonna have to check. There are shims, so I will check and adjust if needed the opener and closer valves on this. All these two valves are very simple. Once again, very basic tools to work on these. I have all the specialty tools to work on 4 valves. The 4 valves are a lot more complex. If you're into Ducatis and you're into wrenching yourself, I highly recommend these old 2-valvers. I love them. The Cagiva Alazzurra is a great bike. The Ducati Pantah is a great bike. All the Pazzos. The 900 SS is probably my favorite from 91 to 98. The M900 Monsters. The TT1s and TT2 race bikes, you can't go wrong with these. So this one's definitely a keeper, and as we bring her back to life, we'll film more. I'm about to pull the carburetors off, and then I'm probably done with this project for today until I order some parts and get some time to check the valve clearances. Ooh. Got it. Interesting clamp. That works. We stick spark plugs back in loose, so we don't have any issues with anything getting in the motor. this up. Actually, not really familiar with these Delordos, so it's a little bit of a learning curve. It's actually genius how Delordo did this to show it to them. And the throttle cable just pops right in. Or I think it's throttle, but no, it's a choke cable. Just pops right in. It's really easy to get in and out. This would be the throttle right here. Here's one of our Delordo carburetors. We're going to rebuild this. Looks like it's in good shape. It's all Marvel Mist Oil from sitting and for sure some old varnish gas. So I'm going to get this cleaned up and in the ultrasonic cleaner. Set it over on our bench. Make sure that when you're in here, you always put rags in your intake. So that way if you're working like I am now, you don't get screws or anything in there. These screws seem like they'll hold in the cap, so I'm just going to leave them. But anytime you have little things like this, they can end up in the motor very easily. So it's just the safety to put plugs back in or put paper towels in and put paper towels in the intake and exhaust ports. It'll also keep moisture out of your motor. Feed it over. Come on. Come on. There we go. Just pay attention how these come apart. They're all a little bit different. So this is our slide. This is our needle. We're going to mark where the needle is. Looks like it's on the second setting from the bottom. So always pay attention to that when you're in your carburetor. We're pulling the Delordo off our horizontal cylinder now. This one has a little backing plate. I don't remember seeing that on the other one. Oh, no, they both have them. All right. So the carb should be identical. We're going to slide it off. These are on there. Also notice this is moving around a little bit, so it might need a new seal when we get to it on this intake. There we go. Considering this port has direct access to the motor, we are going to put a paper towel in it immediately. This one has stuff on it. That'll be okay. Hate the ones with the glue. But it'll work. shove that in there. If I drop any hardware or anything, chances are it won't get in the motor. And just like with the other one, we'll remove the choke cable first. See if I can get in here. Yeah, I can. You want to grab me a stubby? Sometimes in these tight spaces, the stubby screwdrivers are definitely the way to go. That's a little tight. There we go. Careful this needle right here. You don't want to screw it up. So once again, we're going to do the same thing we did with the other carb. Note there's a little metal plate between the spring and the slide needle. This is the best way to get these. Is very carefully slide your spring up. Usually I wear gloves on dirty jobs, but sometimes I like that feeling with my fingers and traction. And then you have to push this cable down. We have a lot of room to work. Let me tack that a different way. Luckily I'm ambidextrous, I can use both hands. And you push this cable down. My middle plate's falling out. That's fine, I don't need it there. Oop. I'm trying to push the throttle cable down here so I can pop it into the other recesses. It just kind of locks in. They can be stubborn sometimes. There we go. I think I got a good bite on it now. Pop it over. There we go. We're out. Our spring, our little metal spacer. Once again, we're going to check our needle height, and it is once again second from the bottom. So that's good. Both carbs were probably in sync. Hi, we're wrapping up for today. This is our carb off of the horizontal cylinder. Here's our carb off the vertical cylinder. Make sure you don't mix your slides or any of your pieces up. Try to keep your stuff together. As carbs, even though they should be worn evenly, they're all a little bit different. So these are Delorto PHF36s. So these are the factory carbs for this bike. We are going to rebuild these and retain these as they appear to be in good condition. I do recommend on the Ducati 900 SSs and the M900s the key and 41mm flat side carbs like I have in my other one that we sell, but on these old ones I like the Delortos. So we have our carbs pulled off, we have our intakes plugged off, we drained the old varnished gas out of our fuel tank, pulled it off, we turned our motor over and lined up the timing marks for when we're ready to replace our belts. We have our horizontal cylinder on TDC, and that's as far as we've gotten today. So stay tuned, and we'll bring you more good action as this whole Cagiva, Alazzurra, Ducati Pantah 650 Armor race bike comes to life. If you enjoyed this video and you found it to be helpful, and you like these old vintage motorcycles that we're resurrecting from the dead, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and visit us at emppowersports.com for great deals on parts, apparel, tools, and equipment.